All right, guys, welcome to the next section in our volume that we're working on here. And we're going to be focusing on section 3. We're going to focus on Laravel Cashier. Laravel Cashier is another official Laravel package, and it allows us to easily handle payments and subscriptions in our Laravel applications. So this is going to be a really handy one for a lot of you guys because eventually you do want to start making payments and charging users, and so this is going to allow you to do that. Laravel Cashier ties in with Braintree and Stripe as payment providers, and we'll be using Stripe throughout this course just because it's the one that Laravel Cashier supports out of the box, and it's also got some really cool testing features that's going to be really good for playing around with our application, and it doesn't cost a penny to sign up. So what we'll be learning in this section is we're going to start off by configuring and installing our project. We're going to get Cashier set up on our blog project, the same blog project ended with in the Laravel Scout project. So we're going to basically just continue that and add some subscriptions. After that, we're going to set up Stripe. We'll create a new free Stripe account and get started testing our payments. And then we're going to put a user on a subscription, actually do what we wanted to do. We're going to get right into that and allow users to sign up for subscription plans and to subscribe to them. Then we'll handle any subscription changes because inevitably your users are going to want to upgrade or downgrade or cancel. And so we need to be able to handle that. You can't just keep charging them forever. I'll show you guys how to make that happen. And then we'll talk about generating an invoice so you can get receipts for your subscription payments to your users. Again, these are going to be all the core essentials if you're building any sort of subscription or payments provider. So in this video, we're going to start off by configuring and installing Laravel Cashier. So we'll install the Laravel Cashier package, then we'll create some migrations that are necessary to store subscription data, and then it'll be a little bit of a modification to the users table, and then also some stuff onto a new table called subscriptions. And we'll look at that here in just a moment. And then we'll set up our user model to actually handle the Cashier payments, and that'll put us to a point where we're pretty good. We can go set up our Stripe account and then connect to our Stripe account and start making those payments. So let's go ahead and get started with the project. I'll be picking up where we left off in the Laravel Scout project, so I suggest you can do the same. You can also download the source code for the project here at this GitHub URL. If at any point you guys get lost throughout these videos, just go to github.com/jacurtis/packed-laravel-cashier. That's the repository for this project, and I will have tags at every video point so that you can find the what the project looks like at each video point as well. Now, if you go to this URL that has the releases/tag/start at the end, this will take you to the very beginning of the project. You can clone the repository into another folder if you'd like, and just see the beginning of the project, which is again where we left off with Laravel Scout. So you can either just pick up with the Laravel Scout project, or you can download this and get going. So I've gone ahead and downloaded this, so I will have a different folder called Cashier that we work in, but it's the same thing if you just picked up where we left off with Scout. I just transferred it over. Okay, so now let's go ahead and actually get Cashier set up in this project. All right, so now to get started with Cashier, we're going to get started the same way that we do with any other official package. We're going to do composer, require, and then we will bring in Laravel/Cashier, and then we're going to bring in version 7. So you can bring in whatever version you want, but this is the version that I will be working with, is version 7. We're going to go ahead and let that run while it updates any of the packages and dependencies. And there we go. It looks like it ran successfully. You can see some of the dependencies that it brought in. It did bring in Stripe, so Stripe is brought in by default. You also see this DOM PDF, which is kind of nice. That's going to allow us to generate PDF invoices. And then, of course, the actual Laravel Cashier package. You also notice that it was auto-discovered, so we don't need to worry about that. So I'm using version 5.5 of Laravel and version 7.0.12 Cashier. Just keep that in mind. All right, so now that we have that installed, the next step is going to be to create a few migrations. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to create a few migrations in our database. We'll do PHP artisan make migration. And we're going to create, our first migration is going to be update users table with subscription. And we're going to pass in a flag that says -- table equals users. And that's going to go ahead and just kind of set up the migration so it uses our existing users table. Then we're going to go through and make another migration. We're going to do PHP artisan make migration. And this is going to store all of our subscription information. Okay, and there's going to be a relationship between our subscriptions and then a user. So there'll be kind of a relationship there. So what we're going to do is we're going to create another one called create subscriptions. And then we're going to do -- create equals subscription. We don't need quotes there. Okay, so that's going to make a table called subscriptions. And the difference here is we're creating a new table versus updating an existing table. That's the difference between dash dash create and dash dash table. Go ahead and let that run. That's going to create our migration. We should now have 2 migrations. Let's go take a look at those in the project. So here we are inside of our project. If we go into our database, we have 2 new migrations here, the update users table one, and then the create a subscriptions table one. Let's start with the first one. Here you can see it went ahead and got us started with our users, and it's going to set everything up for us so we can just start adding stuff. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paste this into the browser so you can look at it, or into the text editor here, and this is what we want to bring. All this information is available on the documentation for Laravel, and you can also just pause the video and catch up here, but I don't want to go through all of these. Basically what we're doing here is we're going to store the user's Stripe ID in the user table. Then we're going to have their brand, their last 4 to make it really easy to reference the card that we're charging, and then also if they have a trial, when the trial ends. This would just kind of make our process a little bit easier with referencing common requested information. Okay, now that we have that, the next thing is we're going to come down here and we're going to drop those tables, or drop those columns as well. So I'm going to say drop columns, and then we're just going to go through and drop all of those columns. So we'll have Stripe ID, card brand, and then trial ends at. Perfect. So now that we got all of that done, then we can go ahead to the next migration. Let's go ahead and close that. We'll run this in a moment. And now that we've got this, we're creating a new table called subscriptions. So that's going to be good. Now, once again, I just want to kind of copy this in so I don't spend a lot of time on these elements. But these are going to be the columns that we want. We're first of all going to have a user ID column to link this to the user who this subscription belongs to. We're going to have a name for the subscription. We will have a Stripe ID, Stripe plan. This will link into our Stripe. We'll learn about this in the next video. The quantity, when the trial ends, and when the subscription ends is going to be all of these. Notice these are nullable because they might be empty. Hopefully they're empty because that means someone is subscribed and they have not canceled. So there we go. That's everything we need to get started with that. Now we're just going to drop the entire table if we run the down function. Let's go ahead and save that, and now we can run those migrations. So we're going to jump back over to the terminal. I'm just going to close this, or clear all that out, and do PHP artisan migrate. We're going to run the migrations here, and we'll have the update user table and the create subscriptions table. Now, if you just did a fresh project, you might see a bunch of other stuff, which was all the migrations leading up to this as well. That's okay. You'll want that, of course, eventually as well. All right, so there we go. Now we have all of our migrations. And now the last thing we're going to do in this video before we need to jump over to Stripe and create an account is we are going to attach our user model so that it is handled by Laravel Cashier. So we're going to go up to the app and then the user model. And just like how we made this notifiable and searchable, we're going to do another thing called use billable. So we're going to do use billable, and this means that we can bill to this user, to this model. And we're going to also need to bring in package for it. So we'll do Laravel Cashier and then billable. And that's everything that we need to do. So now we're going to be set up. It knows that the user model is what we're actually billing. And we've gone ahead and created the migrations so we can start storing those subscriptions. So we're at a pretty good place right now.